What's up, Team Diesel? Today we're going to crush a 90-90 hip series. It's a mobility series, it's a stability series. It kind of has a blend of both. What we do when we use it is kind of in our activation routine. So once we get moving a little bit, we get the core turned on, we get the temperature hot within the body. We kind of then go into some isolated mobility work. And today, you'll see we'll go through a handful of different exercises from this 90-90 position. I'll walk you through kind of some phases of like an advanced version versus one that's a little easier for you to feel the groove. But at the end of the day, you want to get into something that's comfortable, where you feel where we're cueing to feel, and everything's going to look a little different from kind of the person and each person. So don't kind of get freaked if you can't get to some of these positions, because a lot of times it just takes that consistent stimulus, so that consistent daily attack. And this is one of those routines that we really try to push to do daily. It's one of those that every day you wake up, every day you sleep. Like this would be every day, like you kind of take 10 minutes and kind of work some of your hip flexion, extension, you kind of wake things up. So let's get to it, and along the way you'll kind of see where we're gonna kind of go along some tangents of the body and kind of how things work. So first off, what is a 90-90 position? So I'm gonna get into it, I'm gonna hang out in it, for the rest of the video for the most part. So this will be the right side of a 90-90. And we look at this and you'll see a 90-90 right here. So we go from our front side, belly button here, 90-degree angle here, and then we go back side off the hip, 90-degree angle back. You're pressing, I always like to put pressure into the ground. A lot of good methods out there that teach you about tension. FRC is one of them that kind of has a really good methodology through mobility that we've kind of really studied. So FRC is a good way to do it, but there's a lot of good principles out there. But a lot of it has to do with tension and your ability to create it within the body. And one of the best ways to do that is to kind of understand that the ground is our friend. So a lot of these drills, I'm going to be cueing you kind of inside edge pressure, pushing down. When we do that, we're kind of tucking the pelvis. We're creating some really good tension by tucking that torso. And then we're going to see I'm going to be driving my hands and feet into the ground. So 90-90 position would look like this with the 90 angles. So again, to start here, I can kind of stay here. Some days if I don't do it a lot or things, we might not be able to stay up, we fall down. So even just the start position, if we feel that this is too difficult to get into, then you can always go down here, all right, and give yourself a thing. If that's too difficult, you always can go here. So at the end of the day, you want to first set up a good foundational position. From there, we'll go into the first exercise, which is a 90-90 airplane position. So what we're going to do is go through this hip, and we're going to kind of get through that hip flexion, and we're going to kind of basically just think about pushing back into this position. Our chest is going to stay strong, and the head's going to kind of come forward. I'll show you I'll show you like the most advanced variation, that we would show would kind of be going with it, pushing back, and then you're driving forward. And as you get longer, you're gonna see your levers get longer out, and it's putting more pressure as you come back, all right? So your hands can go here as well. All right, I already want to kind of cramp through here, which if you do get a cramp, it's fine. It just means that those areas are kind of activating a lot, and we kind of should be able to, usually when we see cramps and things, we want to go back at it because it's kind of a tissue area that might have got a little weak in that range of motion. So that would be an advanced version with no hands on the ground. Then we would actually try to go, all right, let's just put one hand on the ground. So you can kind of exhale, pushing back into the hip. Keeping that neck nice and strong. Then you come up, all right? So that would be one that we could do. And you could also, if you wanted to, you could just do, if you still kind of needed a little more pressure and tension in the ground, push into this hand, and we can always kind of push back and kind of drive that hip back and really feel those tissues. And what we're looking to feel is that whole backside of those external rotators of the hip. All right, so all that doing that is, yes, we're getting some length, we're getting some blood flow, but we're basically getting those tissues used to that range of motion, which is the most important part to kind of being able to eventually use them. So as you go on to that, we're going to go into 90-90 airplanes. Are going to then transition into a kind of rotation. So a 90-90 rotation position, we would exhale, we would drive that block out. And from here, I'm going to cue you to put inside edge pressure of the heel. All right, you see how that kind of locks that core in, that locks that leg in. If I don't have it, it's kind of there. But if I have it, ooh, I'm locked. My core is strong, back knee, back inside edge. And all we're going to do here is we're going to exhale, and we're going to go. And what we're going to try to do is get as far over that left knee as we can. They call this separation. All right, the more you can press down, the more you'll be able to kind of gain it. Our head's going to be nice and tall. Make that good packed neck, and then we're going to come all the way through. And as we go this way, you're really going to have to grab that, push that knee down, because that's going to help us falling over. So therefore, really hard pressure into it. You can get to that end range. Get those good big breaths. And again, at the end of the day, those block rotations, you know, a lot of these things we'll do 5-10 reps, but for that you realize that the more tension you can create, you can start to feel the body naturally pull and separate itself. It's really important, but it's a skill to rotate and create power. So I think that's always one to kind of practice, but it's a skill set in its own to just feel the separation. And once you feel like, ooh, the more I push here, the more I can go this way, well, it starts to create and really kind of transfer over to some of your rotational sports. We'll then go into an external, you know, can opener. So an external rotation here going backside. So we call them a can opener variation, but we're just gonna go from the first thing we're gonna do, go from that toe. So we're gonna push into that big toe, which is gonna activate that glute in the backside. So when we do that, activates the glute, core is strong. And then we're just gonna kind of keep strong. And we're gonna try to keep the block facing straight ahead. And then we're gonna come back. Again, it's easy to do where you just kind of rush through, but if you really think about creating tension front side, press down, press down, press down, then to engage that whole core and connection, we're gonna drive into that toe, and then we're just gonna peel it back into the heel, and kind of little by little, working our breath and kind of gaining that range. Good. All right, so that's an external block rotation. So as you see with these things, it's kind of channeling your front side, back side, but they're all kind of contralaterally connected through the core. So that's why the more you can kind of understand push here, pull here, like it really allows you to kind of gain access to ranges of motion very quickly. And once you gain the ranges of motion, I feel that is where, you know, we feel that that's where you kind of become more athletic and you create this capacity for quicker improvements, but also when things get tough to make those changes through adversity. Last we'll go through is just a hip flow series on this right side, and then we would go to everything on the left side. So the hip flow series, we're just gonna grab, let's just go here. This would be like an advanced phase. We're gonna squeeze, create tension. We're gonna go toe and then knee to activate the left glute, pressing down hard into the front side. And as you can see, it doesn't look very pleasant, but it is, all right? But we're working towards that range of motion. We're getting tall, we're extending up, strong, good. As you see that front side, you get control, and then we go back to it. Big toe, knee comes off the ground. I'm tucking the pelvis, I'm squeezing that block. I'm working, I'm creating it. I'm creating nice pressure through my neck. I'm nice and tall, and I'm exhaling. So we would call that a hip flow, kind of advanced. Now, if we can maintain that upright torso position and the tension and we're falling over, very fine. All right, everything, it allows progression. All right, so one way we would do it is just be like, all right, cool, let's just put the hands down and we can kind of work towards it. So we can kind of go here, toe to heel, and then as we get going, we're still trying to peel that, toe, heel touches, then you can kind of transfer that weight over. And you see how you still can kind of use it to peel, but you can kind of use the hands to kind of help us, you know, coming back, working, and moving forward. Good, so as you see, that was, if you look at it, we just did 4 or 5 exercises, all kind of working out of the 90-90 position, but there's a lot of different exercises, progressions. Usually we'd send, you know, 5-10 reps worth of good breaths, and we'd spend, you know, 5-10 reps, 1 set, 2 sets through, and then we go to the other side. So basically do a set, we usually would stay on the right side, and then we're gonna go to the left side. Which is, by the time you're done with that, you feel pretty good. You're gonna feel some really good life in your hips, blood flow. So anyone who's suffering from a little low back tightness or suffering from really any sort of like, you know, they think they're tight in their hips or this and that, most hips aren't tight. They're really lacking stability and really that creating that tension and pressure. And once you can create a little bit of stability, then you can allow some of that hip movement. That's where you get that special feeling where like the pain goes away and you start to feel really good. If you don't have pain, it's just that extra little bit of core stability. Then you start to be able to move. It's not like people can't move, it's that I don't think they have the right, you know, stability and mobility in certain areas. So it's really kind of just sequencing, getting everything connected, and then, you know, putting in the work towards it. So a 90-90 hip series would be phenomenal, you know, for anyone out there.